I'm not a lawyer, but there's a story out of St. Louis, Missouri right now that you have got to hear about. It has to do with this man whose name is Marcellus Williams, and he is currently set to be executed on September 24th, as in this month. And even though the prosecutor, this man, has acknowledged that evidence was mishandled, the conviction is unreliable, and that it would be immoral to allow this execution to continue, Marcellus is still set to be executed on September 24th. Let me give you the background. So in 2001, Marcellus was convicted and sentenced to death for the 1998 death of this woman, a local news reporter whose name was Felicia Gale. The state said that on August 11th, 1998, Marcellus parked his car at a bus stop, took a bus to Felicia's neighborhood looking for a place to rob. They say he picked Felicia's home, broke in, robbed it, and then using a kitchen knife, he caused her death. From there, the state said he washed off, took a jacket to cover his bloody shirt, and then rode a bus back to where his car was parked. Less than a month after the incident, Marcellus gets arrested on an unrelated charge and ends up incarcerated in the city workhouse. Now, Felicia was 42 at the time, and she was discovered by her husband, who after arriving home saw his kitchen was a mess, his things were rummaged through, and then he eventually discovered his wife lying on the floor, not alive. Police are able to collect the kitchen knife that was used, a bloody shoe print, a piece of hair, and some fingerprints, and they also learned that Felicia's purse and her husband's laptop were all missing from the home. But even with all of that, the police weren't really getting anywhere, and after months of not having any leads, the family decides to offer a $10,000 reward for any leads on the case. And then a man by the name of Henry Cole comes forward. He's upfront about telling police he wants the reward money, and he also tells them that he was Marcellus's cellmate in the city workhouse where they were both incarcerated. And Henry Cole says during that time, Marcellus confessed to the incident. And he also says that when Marcellus told him what happened, he mentioned that his girlfriend, a woman named Laura Asaro, knows about it. So police take this information and go and talk to Laura, who they were also already familiar with because she's had a number of run-ins with the police herself. So Laura tells them that yes, Marcellus was her boyfriend, and on the day of Felicia's death, he had blood on his shirt, scratches on his neck, a laptop computer in his possession, and when she went to the trunk of his car, she saw a woman's purse. She ends up confronting him because she thought he was cheating, and according to Laura, that's when he confessed to unaliving Felicia. So police take Henry's story and Laura's story and build their case, and Marcellus is charged with first-degree unaliving, among some other things. The trial continues with Laura and Henry as the state's key witness, and even though people don't typically get the reward money until after a case is over, prosecutors advised Felicia's husband to pay Henry half the money up front because Henry said that he was not going to testify until he got it. During the trial, the defense presented witnesses that say Laura was the one who was seen getting off of a bus with a laptop in her possession. Despite all of that, and the fact that there was no physical evidence tying Marcellus to the scene, all of that hair, bloody shoe print, and DNA found under Felicia's fingernails were no match to Marcellus. He is ultimately convicted of his charges. And in considering Marcellus's previous criminal history, which included armed robbery of a donut shop, robbery of a Burger King, and robbery of a residence, Marcellus was sentenced to death. Now, Marcellus has maintained his innocence this entire time, and over the years there has been additional DNA testing, still with nothing confirming a match from Marcellus to that scene. But nothing really has changed the circumstances. Marcellus has still been sentenced to death. Fast forward to January of this year, 2024, and this man, St. Louis County Prosecutor Wesley Bell, filed a motion to vacate Williams' conviction. Vacate, or basically have it overturned, and he cites 4 reasons. Number 1, he says he was yet again working on some more DNA testing. Number 2, he says that Marcellus's original lawyers failed to investigate and present evidence that Henry Cole and Laura, the girlfriend, were liars. Bell also says that those lawyers failed to present evidence that could have helped him be sentenced to something other than death. And lastly, Wesley Bell says that some of the potential jurors for the case were improperly removed for racial reasons. Context: the jury for Marcellus's trial was made up of 11 white people and 1 black person. Because you probably need the reminder, yes, all of that is coming from the prosecutor. So Wesley Bell files that motion, and then a couple weeks ago on August 21st, Bell's office announces that new DNA testing, which was of the kitchen knife that was used in the incident, has revealed that it was contaminated. The short version is that DNA from one of the original investigators on the case and DNA from one of the original prosecutors on the case were both found on the knife, as in they were touching it without gloves on. So now it's contaminated. And the unfortunate thing about that is that has made it essentially impossible to prove that someone else may have done this crime, which also now weakens their argument that Marcellus's conviction should be overturned. So the prosecutors come up with a new deal. They say if he agrees to an Alford plea, which allows him to maintain his innocence while also recognizing that a trial isn't the best idea for him, they will take the death sentence off of the table and he will instead get life in prison without the possibility of parole. Marcellus agrees to the deal, the prosecutors agree to the deal, and the judge agrees to the deal. But then Missouri's Attorney General, this man whose name is Andrew Bailey, says not so fast. He files a writ of prohibition, basically an urgent motion to a higher court to say, hey, please stop this lower court because they doing stuff they can't do. So it was in regards to the court accepting that plea deal, which the Attorney General says they can't do that, and that a hearing needed to be held. The Attorney General maintains that the evidence to convict Marcellus was strong. The investigators and prosecutors who touched that knife didn't know that simply touching it was going to be enough to leave DNA and make it contaminated, I guess. And in regards to Marcellus accepting that Alford plea and getting life in prison, the Attorney General's office says that no innocent man is willing to spend the rest of his life in prison unless he knows he is guilty. So all of this has been unfolding and has now been argued in front of a judge. And that judge has until September 13th to make a ruling, which again is only 11 days before the date that Marcellus Williams is set to be executed. Have y'all heard about this story? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and in the event you want to sign the petition for Marcellus Williams, I'll leave the link for you.